Oh, hey, all you wild rascals. It's Logan Exotic here, and this is my exotic zoo. We got lions, tigers, and bears, oh my. Today, I want to introduce you guys to my uncle, Joe Exotic, and all his sexy tigers.
I've had 2 boyfriends most of my life. I currently got legally married, thank God. It's finally legal in America. I've had some kinky sex. I have tried drugs through the younger years of my life. I am broke as shit. I have a judgment against me from some bitch down there in Florida.
And I also want to forewarn you about Carol Baskin. That bitch fed her husband to tigers. I'll prove it to you, I swear. What's that? Oh, there's a tiger right behind me. Easy there. What's going on, all you wild tigers and rascals out there? It's Big Logan Myers here, returning for Cinephellas.com, doing more reviews in the lockdown here in the Chicagoland area. Everybody's been talking about this new docuseries on Netflix. It's 7 episodes. It's about an eccentric zookeeper in Oklahoma, and his name is Joe Exotic. I'm talking about the brand new series, Tiger King, that just debuted on Netflix. I just binged this show with my wife and had a really great time with it. Much like everybody else in the world right now, everybody's talking about this show. But really fantastic, and I'm going to get into it. The setup of the documentary essentially is Joe Exotic. Him living in Oklahoma, he has like this sideshow zoo that houses tigers, lots of tigers, a few hundred tigers, bears, lions, a bunch of different animals. And you could see in the life of this guy, living in Oklahoma, being gay, having a mullet, shooting a gun. As an audience, you get to see into the world of Joe Exotic and all his friends, and it's really kind of creepy in the setup, you know, wondering why a guy like this has a bunch of tigers and really exotic animals that probably shouldn't be, kept in cages, but we get a glimpse into the world. It's really funny. There's a lot of pictures and memes of these guys. Right now, I posted a few, but it's really funny. It's such an easy show to make memes of because it's so ridiculous and crazy all at the same time, but it keeps you invested and you can't stop watching it. It's like a train wreck, but you can't keep your eyes off of it. And that's how I felt from the start to finish. We ended up watching this in 2 days, 7 episodes, and they're about 45 minutes long. But all the people they introduce in the show, you kind of see how they all change from the start to the end. And your opinions of these people really change too. So with the setup of Joe Exotic being in Oklahoma, we have an animal rights activist, Carol Baskin. She lives in Florida. She believes that animals should be more free, not locked up in smaller cages. And she's a real basket case, as we could see from the beginning. And her and Joe Exotic duke it out pretty much throughout the entire series. They hate each other going back and forth, and it leads up to what happens at the very end. And basically the ultimate demise of one of the characters. But with Carol Baskin, she's been married a bunch of times, and you see her house in Florida, and she's just really out there, really spacey, like an old hippie kind of thing. And she's not all there mentally, it feels like, and you can see, how much of a basket case she is throughout the series. It only gets worse. But with these 2 characters, they really kind of hate each other. They're both in the business. They have different viewpoints on housing these exotic animals and what's right. Is it all about money, or is it, actually protecting these beautiful animals? And they really dive into that in the series, how these people can really make money off these tigers, breeding them and selling them off, or, having your own zoo, petting zoo. People can come in and pay money to pet the animals and see them. So it really, from the start of the series, it really feels like they're doing it all for the animals. They also introduce another zookeeper. I think he's out on the East Coast, Doc Antle. He's like really perverted and creepy and hires all these young girls. And you could tell he's like a magician or something. He's got the long ponytail, straight from like the 80s or 90s, but something very creepy about this guy. With this series, it's really focused on the animals from the start of the series. And when they introduce more of these characters, more specifically at Joe Exotic's zoo, of all the meth heads that work there, they seem like they're pretty good people. They just got some issues. As you get to know more of these characters, you get to really see what goes on behind the cameras there at the zoo. Joe Exotic is over the top, in your face, eccentric, vibrant, comedic at times, but he's not the same character when he's off camera, and you can kind of see his descent into madness. In the beginning, I kind of felt like he was a good guy who had the right intentions of, working with these animals and really protecting them, and then it really changes as greed and power gets into his head, he becomes more famous. He has like an internet series, YouTube series. You basically see him start to go crazy. It all has to do with Carol Baskin, really hate each other, and he wants to kill her, and he says numerous times throughout his videos and while he's shooting this documentary series, he wants her dead. How they can do it, need a gun, need to go find her and kill her. So it was kind of stupid on his part to be so obvious about it. And then they introduced the next shady crook in the show, Jeff Lowe. When they introduced him in the show, I'm like, he looks like every biker in Vegas, because I lived out there for 3 years. I'm like, he's probably a guy from Vegas, just the way he dresses, like the do-rag and the hat and the coat, and he looked like a biker. And they're like, lives in Las Vegas. I'm like, I called it. And I definitely didn't like this guy when they introduced him, and you can see what a piece of shit he is with his wife. And they don't have the right intentions either. They're there to invest in the zoo and help Joe Exotic out because he's losing money. It has to do with this case. They come in to help Joe Exotic out, but essentially you find out they're not very good people, or really anybody in this series. It doesn't feel like there's too many good people, too many people you can trust or believe. But Jeff Lowe is a character I didn't like from the introduction, and I definitely didn't like him throughout the rest of the series, especially once you find out more about that character. Another cartoon character they introduced in the series, James Garretson. He looks like a larger-than-life Chucky doll. His hair's all looks like plastic, but it's funny. Another character they have a lot of memes about. He's like on a jet ski, and he's like cruising in the water and stuff. He's got his sunglasses on. Another person that's very shady, that's been involved in some really dirty businesses and doesn't have the right intentions, but he had some money to invest, so he ends up working with Jeff Lowe and Joe Exotic, and of course their partnership doesn't really turn out very well. And throughout the series, your mind really changes. You see more deeper and backstories of these characters, of how it's all really political. It's all about money and greed and outdoing one another and really making bad decisions and trying to kill, people and their competition, and it's just a lot of shadiness going on. It's the most bonkers and craziest documentary series I've seen in a while, and it was a show I couldn't stop watching. Without going into too much detail or spoilers, because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, I want you guys to go in to this series and watch all 7 episodes and have a great time with it. But I will say Joe Exotic is definitely there for the comedic relief, and you also feel bad for the guy because he's just not all there, and he's been through so much heartbreak and a lot of bad decisions in his life. And he started out with having good intentions, and then he got involved with politics, and he kind of steered away from his overall mission was to help these animals and give them a place to stay, and he really changes. And with Joe Exotic being the focal point in this series, it doesn't turn out too well for him, and I was really surprised by that. That was really shocking to me because him in the beginning, I thought he was going to do really good and come out on top, but it really didn't turn out too well for him. And my opinion of Carol Baskin didn't really change. I thought she was nutty in the beginning. I still can't stand her. I think she's up to no good, and honestly, I think she really did feed her husband to some tigers a long time ago, and she plays it off all stupid, like, how could I do that? Tigers can't eat bones and things like that, and now they absolutely could if they're hungry. So I think she's a really shady person, somebody you can't trust, and I think she definitely did feed her husband to tigers. Other characters in the show I thought were really interesting, and this is a series that I didn't really know too much about. I didn't know the story of Joe Exotic, but it really dives into it, and it gives you all their different viewpoints of the characters, and you're not really sure who to trust and who's the good and who's the bad here, and it really keeps you guessing until the end. And a really well shot, directed series as well. And I don't want to go into too much detail with a lot of the story, what happens, all these different characters and all the twists and turns along the way. But it's a show that keeps you guessing till the very end, and then you're like, damn it, I want some more of the Tiger King. But I had a really great time with Tiger King on Netflix, just debuted, 7 episodes, 45 minutes long or so. I think it's a show you guys are going to get really hooked on and invested in, with these really crazy, kooky characters living down in Oklahoma and Florida, and characters and people you didn't think existed, but you actually do see in the lives of these people and what that has to do with tigers and the zoo and all the corruption that goes along the way. But it's a show I think you guys are going to have a really great time with, and a show I highly recommend. So I'm going to give Tiger King on Netflix a 4 out of 5 tiger head pieces. So what did you guys think of Tiger King on Netflix? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What did you guys think of Joe Exotic? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe. This is Logan Myers signing out with my mates up here, Joe Exotic and the rest of those wild boys. Until the next video review. Cheers!